In an age of DC and Marvel and superhero movie after superhero movie, one of the ideas that we seem to see every now and again is the idea of superhero fatigue. That the reason why people didn't show up for this Marvel movie or this Marvel TV show is just because people are just tired and there's so much Marvel stuff. It has nothing to do with the fact that if you pump out shit movie after shit movie and shit TV show after shit TV show, that people tend to get tired of watching absolute shit. It's very obvious for why there is such a thing as superhero fatigue or just Marvel movie fatigue, whatever you want to call it. It has everything to do with absolute lack of quality. But of course, we're dealing with the media, we're dealing with idiots on Twitter, wherever it may be, that are gonna use the excuse whenever something fails or flops that, oh, it was just because people were tired of Marvel movies because there was just so much of them. And it's also going to be an excuse that is going to be used by the creatives behind some of these Marvel movies and TV shows that, oh, the reason why no one watched my show or movie was all to do with superhero fatigue. They were just tired of it because there's so many Marvel movies. That's all the only thing that's going to happen by having this idea of superhero fatigue out there, is people are just going to use that as an excuse for absolute dog shit storytelling. That is all we're going to see when it comes to, if it is Marvel creatives or whatever, is they're just going to use that excuse over and over and over that, they just didn't turn up because there's just so many of them. It's got nothing to do with my lack of talent. Nothing at all. And there is a reason I'm singling out Marvel, and that's because they seem to be worse off when it comes to the so-called Marvel movie fatigue. As it says here, is worse than DC. And it's very obvious for why Marvel is worse off than DC. That's because if we take a little look at what Marvel has done just in the past 2 years, a little under that, they've had Black Widow, Shang-Chi, Eternals, No Way Home, Doctor Strange in Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever in the space of 2 years. And if we take a look at their TV shows, again, it's very apparent why Marvel is worse off, because they're pumping out more shit than DC is. They've also had with TV shows WandaVision, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, Ms. Marvel, She-Hulk, Attorney at Law. Now, if you pump out that amount of shite, and all that stuff right there is shite, people are going to get sick of it and they're going to stop watching. That is what's going to happen. It has nothing to do with there's too much of it. Because I'm pretty sure if we were still getting loads of good Marvel stuff, I don't think people would be complaining. I really don't think people would be complaining. But that is going to be the excuse being used, is that, it's just too many. Just too many. When I really do think if we were in a different position, that there wouldn't really be that sentiment around. So if you compare what we've just seen with Marvel, which is about 7 movies and 8 TV shows in a little under 2 years, compared to what DC have done, where they've had Zack Snyder's Justice League, The Suicide Squad, and Black Adam. They've had 3 movies in the space of 2 years. And even with their TV shows, I'm pretty sure it is just the Peacemaker series compared to Marvel's 8 TV series. So it's pretty obvious why Marvel is worse off with movie fatigue that is caused by shit stories. Because that's just what it is. But according to a new study, fan fatigue for Marvel movies seems to be setting in faster than with DC. Again, we've just went over the reason for that. Again, if you're putting out more shit than your competitors are probably going to be doing a little better than you. Both Marvel and DC have been at the top of the movie world for well over a decade now. That's beginning to change, as we've seen over the past 2 years. With comic book movies being the biggest, most consistent box office draws currently out there. This has been evident as MCU and DCU films have sat atop most anticipated lists for years. Usually those most anticipated lists are generally it's by the likes of the Direct. With these superpowered adventures lining the pockets of Disney, and Warner Brothers handsomely. I wouldn't really say that considering what we're seeing at the moment and what we've been seeing with DC. That DC seem to actually be making some changes, at least trying to, whereas Disney has done nothing more than keep doubling down on the same old shit. However, talk of superhero fatigue has been present as of late. Directors like Sam Raimi have come out saying superhero overdose is a problem. Again, that's what we're going to see. You've just watched too many superhero movies. That's why you didn't like my shit movie. That's all we're going to see when it comes to superhero fatigue. Amongst creatives who are closely involved in these sorts of projects, and the likes of Dune's Denis Villeneuve, have said that these films are turning audiences into zombies. I prefer the word consumers. People that don't think, they just go, there's the Marvel logo, I have to watch it, and I have to say how brilliant it is, even though it's very easy to tell that it isn't. So that's basically what he means with zombies, and he's not wrong. While fans of these costume blockbusters have come out in support of their favourite heroes, it turns out there may be some validity in these thoughts of fatigue setting in, or at least that is if some new numbers are to be believed. And of course, we're reading from the direct. They are not going to say, oh, well, the reason for this is because Marvel are making shit. They're not going to say that. I will, because I'm not getting money from Disney. That's what the direct is. So superhero fatigue could become a problem. It already is a problem. It already is a problem. And again, this superhero fatigue is only caused by lack of quality. If you are making good stuff, people are going to continue to show up for it. That's just what's going to happen. According to a new study conducted by Fandom via Variety, over 1/3 of Marvel fans are getting fatigued with the MCU because it's shit, compared to only 1/5 of DC fans saying the same about the DCU, because the DCU hasn't put out as many movies. The study took a deep dive in the comic book movie fandom, drawing on 5,000 entertainment and gaming fans between the ages of 13 and 54 years, as well as proprietary insights from fandom's online platform and wikis. It presented a few key findings, including some major differences between Marvel and DC fans. It found that 81% of those who closely associate with Marvel are more likely to seek out any and every MCU project, because that's what you're dealing with. Again, when you're dealing with consumers, they will watch whatever. They will watch everything and not even think about it. Not even consider that, oh, maybe this wasn't that good, was it? Maybe it wasn't. No, they don't consider that. So, again, I've pretty much watched most of the Marvel stuff. I do it for different reasons. Of course, I like to take the piss out of shit movies and shit TV shows. So that's why I tune in for, most, not everything. Whereas only 67% of DC fans would do the same for their respective movies and shows. Again, you still have to take into account that there's less and less when you're dealing with DC. DC may be putting out, have shit movies out there. There's not as many of them, so it's not quite as damaging. The DC fan base is more likely to consume TV or films based around a specific superhero, with 57% of DC fans being focused on one or two characters compared to 38% of Marvel fans. The study assumes that this is the main reason why 36% of MCU fans are feeling superhero fatigue, simply because they are more inclined to take in everything the franchise produces. Meanwhile, 20% of DC fans say they feel the same effect, likely because they are more likely to see it less simply because they are only following one specific character. Again, because you don't have that many DC movies out there, at least when you're talking about the DCU. Fandom found that each fan base could be broken down into 4 segments: the advocates, intentionalists, culturalists, and flirts. Advocates are essentially just consumers, as we've talked about a lot on this channel, are those most embedded in the particular brand. These are audience members who are deeply invested in the IP to the point that they find the brand makes up a part of who they are. Intentionalists are the bulk of each particular fan base, being those who won't seek everything out and could be swayed by marketing or critical reception. This group will most likely see any new content within the first 2 weeks or so, but do not have to be there on opening day. The culturalists are heavily influenced by the buzz, so basically people that just want to be a part of it. Around any particular release, this group sees these experiences as opportunities to connect with friends and family rather than the IP itself. And lastly, the flirts are those that will dabble here and there. They will come and go from franchise IP, taking things in when they have time rather than when the world around them is telling them to do it. Marvel was proven to have more advocates in intentionalists. You can see that pretty apparent when you go on social media. You're more likely to have some big meltdown from Marvel, Marvel current consumers than you are DC. You're less likely to see that coming from DC. So yeah, it's pretty obvious that Marvel have more of the advocates. So the direct asked, are people really getting tired of superheroes? Yes, and it's not for the reason that the direct thinks so. It's for the reason, as I pointed out many times in this video, is that they're shit. They are shit. People are going to get tired of watching shit. Some people might not be able to put their finger on why they're tired of Marvel movies, but that is the reason. The reason is Marvel are making shit movies. So and again, if you're pumping out more movies as well, that just makes it a whole lot worse for you. It really does. Even if we were in a good position where there was good Marvel movies coming out, I would still say we don't need 20 a year. That's not what we need. They used to be more of events rather than we're just going to keep throwing them out there. Essentially, what Marvel is doing at the minute is they're just spamming. They're just spamming, especially with the TV shows. And then they wonder why people, like their audience, seems to get less and less. It's because they're not focusing on making something good. They're more obsessed with, oh, look, we've got, I don't know, this type of person in the movie for inclusion. They focus on stuff like that, or they focus on, just keep throwing them out there. Just keep throwing them out there. It's nothing to do with, people aren't, stop turning up. The reason for that is not, oh, we put out shit. No, it's just, people are tired. People are tired of it. Seeing these numbers may shock some people, especially, no, I'm not shocked at all. Especially those who are still as pumped as ever to head out to the theatre or turn on their favourite streamer to take in the next comic book epic, but it does make a bit of sense. Like anything, eventually the superhero movie trend will fall out of fashion. The only difference, though, is because, of course, they're going to bring, the Western into it. The only difference, though, is Marvel is doing it to themselves. It's not just a thing that's happening. Marvel are actually seem to be going out of their way to bring their superhero movie trend to its death. They're actually doing it to themselves. Whereas the Westerns, every single studio was doing Westerns. Eventually, it was going to fall out of trend. So the same thing is going to happen to superhero movies. It's just the fact that they're like hurrying the process. They're making it come quicker because they are not putting any effort into it whatsoever. This bubble will have to pop, and the MCU and DCU will likely have to go the way of the spaghetti western or the big budget musical. Fads pass, although most fads don't pass because it's shit. They just pass because we've had plenty of spaghetti westerns now. We can do something else. But with Marvel, it's no, we're making shit. However, it doesn't feel like that is going to happen, at least in the near future. I wouldn't count your cards just yet. Both Marvel Studios, and because again, when you think about Marvel, does anyone think Marvel is still going to be a thing like with their Phase 7? It's like, no, they're going to be gone by then. I don't even think they'll make it to there. I think if they do, it's fucking lucky anyway. Both Marvel Studios and DC Studios And DC Studios are actually trying to make changes, whereas Marvel just keep doing the same thing. I have to be acutely aware that this isn't going to last forever as much as they want it to. The key to extending the lifespan of this wave of genre film will be the studios continuing to push the envelope. They're not doing that, though, are they? They are not pushing the envelope. They are not coming up with fresh ideas. When they do, it's shit. When they do, it generally doesn't work, as we've seen with a lot of stuff that's come out recently. But again, superhero movies should be able to last, because there's so many different things you can do with superhero stuff. So many different genres. It's not just one genre. You can do every genre within a superhero franchise. But they're not doing that. It is fascinating to see the disparity of fatigue stats between Marvel and DC fans, though, and it makes a lot of sense as to why the MCU fan base as a whole may be getting a little more tired than those on the DC side of things, which, again, we've pointed out, 8 TV shows, 7 movies, and 3 movies and 1 TV show. Again, it's so obvious. It is not surprising. It's not shocking that Marvel is worse off than DC. MCU fans have had plenty to eat in recent years, if you like chowing down shit, I guess, with an abundance of content to enjoy from year to year. That has not been the case with DC, as Warner Brothers is only just now starting to... No, they're making a change. They're making changes. They're attempting to get back to, where they could have been. They're trying to overtake Marvel, and there's no better time than now, because Marvel, as I've said, is a dying franchise. We've just read all these numbers coming in, from what you can really say about polls, that Marvel is worse off than DC. Again, I don't know how many times I've been saying this, that the MCU is dying. It's dying. All you have to do is look at what we've still got to come. There's so much of it, and it's all probably going to be terrible. I think the only one I want to see is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. After that, I've got no reason to hang about other than to have a little laugh at how shit it is. That's the only reason I've got. But it's not surprising that Marvel is worse off than DC when it comes to superhero fatigue, which is because it's shit quality. That is all it is, but it's going to be used as the excuse that, oh no, people are just tired because there's so much of it. We don't actually have to work on putting effort in and making good stuff. We don't actually have to hire talent, because it doesn't matter, you see, because people are just tired of Marvel movies. That's what we're going to see when it comes to this idea of superhero fatigue.